To our fifth video on the introduction to coding using the Arduino. My name is Afikile, and as usual I will be your host for this video. Thank you for tuning in to watch, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and you will get notified when we get new video. And today we are going to look at two things. The first one, which we are not going to look in depth, I will just do a quick explanation, is Arduino libraries, and the second, we are going to control a servo with our Arduino. So what a servo is basically like I could say it's a motor. It has a motor and it has some gears and it swivels. It goes or right to left, from point of 0 to 180, and then when it gets to 180 it comes back. So we could use potentially, many people use servos, and RC cars, because you can control them via a remote control if they're connected to your Arduino or any microcontroller that you can interface with. And if we can look at the servo connectivity, we have 3 pins. It has a ground, a power, and it has a signal pin. And we are going to use these pins to connect and talk to our Arduino. So without using so much time, let's get down to this tutorial. So we have our Arduino Uno here, and we have our servo, and we want to connect our ground pin to our ground on the Arduino. And we said the last time that usually we'll put our ground to be either brown or black. So we will make this one brown, our ground. And now for our power, we're going to use a servo uses 5 volts. So we will connect it to our 5-volt pin on the Arduino. We will make this red. Okay, yes, it is at the right place. And then finally we use our signal. The servo will go into pin 9, and then let's make this one yellow. And so we have 3 pins, we've connected them. The Arduino is going to communicate with via pin 9 to the servo. We have grounded it, and we have supplied the power. And so now to get to the code, we are going to use text and not block this time. And we want to delete everything that is, okay, that's not to save time. So to save time, we'll delete everything that is inside void loop and void setup, because now we want some more functionalities that we can control that servo with. So to include a library, so we'll just tell our Arduino, our software rather, which is an IDE, to include this library called servo. So now we have told it that it must include this library. Okay, so now that we've told it to include this library, we are going to say servo, we are calling this library, and we are then creating an object. Yeah, so we're creating an object. This object is, we are going to call it my servo. What it does is that whenever we want to access that library, whenever there's a function in that library that we want, we are going to call this object. So this object is how we talk to that library. So inside that library, there are functions. Whenever we need to use a function in that servo, we are going to call my servo the object. So we also then need one more thing. We need to have a variable. It's going to store a number for us. So this variable, we're going to call it pause or position, or pause for position, and we are going to set it to 0. So at this point, it doesn't have any value. So any value so at this point, this position is 0, which means it doesn't have any value inside of it, or it's not keeping any value but 0. So you will see why we have that position later on. And then now that we have this variable, we then need to tell our servo that it must communicate with our pin, with this in this pin. So we are now attaching, or we are now telling our Arduino, attach the servo to pin number 9, and that is basically a setup. We've done the setup, and so now to get down to our code, we are going to use a loop. So you will see here we have void loop, and all that this does is that all the code that we place inside the void loop, it will be repeated all the time. It doesn't stop unless we tell it to stop. We give it a condition on when to stop. So we are now going to write the code that will continuously keep running. So now we are going to use a for loop. There are different loops. There are while loops, there are do while loops. There's quite a lot of loops that we have, and loops are basically a way that we make sure that a code keeps running until such a condition is met. We are going to say for. Now we are going to use this position. If you see here, all of these variables that we have placed here, they are called global variables, which means that we can place them, we can use them anywhere in our sketch. So we can use them anywhere in our code. So we can say now for pause. So pause is equal to 0 at this point. Then we are going to say while pause, this is how we are going to read it, is less than or equal to 0, add 1. So pause plus plus. So I will explain. So it says for pause at 0, while pause is less than or equal to 0, pause 1, pause plus plus. So if you look at our servo, at this point, the servo is at 0 position. While the position is less than or equal to 0, okay? Now it is equal to 0, right? So it must then add 1, okay? So we are going to say for pause is equal to 0, because we want it to start at 0, and then while pause is less than or equal to 180, okay, it must increase the value of pause by 1. So pause plus plus, same as saying plus 1, okay? So whatever the value of pause is, just add 1 to it. So we open it in brackets and we close it. So now we are saying pause, for pause equals to 0. Pause is at 0 now. You can see when the servo is like this, it's at 0. While pause is less than or equal to 180, yes, pause is less than 180. So therefore, make pause 1. Add 1 to pause. So what we are going to do now that pause is 1, we are going to say my servo dot write. So servo, write into the servo the value of pause, which is 1, okay, at this point in time. And then you must just delay for, let's make it one second. But now we want the code to make it come back, okay? So to just make it quicker, I will copy this code and I will explain it to you or for you. Then we are now saying for pause is equal to 180, because pause has reached 180 degrees, while pause is greater than or equal to 0, then pause minus minus. So what we are now saying is, you will see at this place, right, pause will move from 0, and we keep saying pause plus 1 up until pause, the value of position is 180, right? And then it will keep writing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it will keep moving up until 180. Then when it reaches 180, which is the condition that we have set here, it will then come out of this code go into this one, and then it's going to read for position, is pause 180? Yes. Is while pause is greater than 0, is 180 greater than or equal to 0? Yes. Pause minus minus, which is going to be 179. It comes and writes 179, and our servo will come back to the other side. So now you see it goes all the way to 180. I've added some code to help us to visualize what we are doing when our servo is moving. So I've added this serial.begin. I will not explain this code. We've also added serial.print. So we are going to print this position, the word position, and after the word position, we are going to then put the position, the current position of the servo, and we are going to print an empty line. We are going to then, when we are finished with that, we are going to wait for 1 second so that you can see when it changes direction. We then start printing the value of servo once again. So let's have a look. You must just look here at serial monitor, and you are going to see what the results are going to be. So let's start the simulation. So you can see it keeps counting from 0 to 180, and then it waits 1 second. So this is what is happening. As the servo moves, the values move also. Okay, so let's make it wait for 4 seconds, and let's make it wait for another 4 seconds here so that we can see it against those times. So you can see now it's moving. So it's going to wait 4 seconds. Then it moves again. It gets to 0, 4 seconds. Then it moves again. So I thought I should add that code just to help us to visualize what the code, or how the code behaves in a way that we could see. We've come to the end of our tutorial, and yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and we looked at the Arduino library and how we use one simple library like for servo, and we used the right method in the servo library, and we created an object for the library called servo, and we also looked at how we can use our servo and how we use the Arduino to control our servo. So yeah, till next time, thank you for watching, and please, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. Thank you.